Well, welcome to everyone around the world to another edition of Taking Stock Live. This is by far the bright spot of every week, and today we have a very special guest. If you've enjoyed Taking Stock at all, then you're going to want to really listen closely today because you're going to hear from somebody who has really taught me how to communicate and how to connect, and I know she will do that with all of you as well. So without a lot of further ado, I want to welcome Maureen Taylor to Taking Stock Live. Hi, Maureen.
Hello, nice to be here.
And nice to be here too. We could almost do this together in person, but here we are. And Maureen is the CEO of SNP Communications and just an incredible leader to so many people really around the globe. She's a co-founder of SNP Communications. It's fun for me because I actually didn't know a lot of this about you, Maureen. You founded SNP 25 years ago with your husband, Ren, and you really wanted to help founders and leaders through what you call, and now I know through studying with you and learning from you, the art of communication. And so you've grown up in the rise of Silicon Valley with really the technology industry and startups and big companies. And really, it sounds like there's a singular goal, which is to make the world a better place, which is an important singular goal. So as I shared, I've worked with Maureen over many years now, and she's part of my now growing personal board of directors. And Maureen, just a huge welcome to the show.
So nice to be here. So nice. I'm so proud of you.
Okay, so now, before we get into SNP and just all the work that you've done and your journey in the world of communications, rumor has it that you have a boyfriend. He's very old. And his name is Aristotle. So will you please explain that?
So that's what I say. I say Aristotle is my first boyfriend, and newer in the workforce, they go, "Ooh, you look good." It's like, are you serious? But classical rhetoric is what I ended up studying after being every major that you could think of because I was interested in everything. And Aristotle really respected the fact that if you are going to lead, if you're going to inspire and motivate, then how you communicate is a killer app. And I was just so inspired by him, and it applied to everything that I touched. So to become a student of rhetoric and of the classics, and then to combine it as human nature and how communities work together has been just a great thing. So that's where it started. And then the broadcast part, because husband and I had a radio program and we loved the whole interviewing thing. So it was a combination of the two that started our little company.
So cool. And you do look very good. So you say that service is the highest form of humanity, engineers are artists, and really the dedication to human operating systems is never boring. And sort of quantum mechanics explains everything. So tell us more what you mean by that.
Well, you can imagine in technology, engineer folks, I do think they're artists, but it took a while to get them to appreciate that the human operating system is what helps them build things to make it work, right? And quantum mechanics is such an interesting way of looking at it, which seems to resonate with engineers because two things, the phone and my face don't exist except for the interaction between the two. So if the interaction is everything, then the human operating system, how it operates is through communication, and your own user interface usually needs some sort of work. So 1989, starting with that, and then growing up in the industry has been fun because certainly artists deserve the discipline, mental and physical, to be able to communicate great. And service, highest form of humanity, to be able to serve those people, to help build, help connect, help make the world a better place is truly a privilege.
Well, and I see you doing this. I've seen in certainly both the companies I've worked at. You you take those ideas that are sort of buried in people's brains that they might understand from a, to your point, like a quantum computing perspective, and make it real so that they can move large teams of people or inspire audiences to make the change. Tell us a little bit. You are really helping leaders lead and create change. I can imagine you've seen some unbelievable personalities and some unbelievable stories. Tell us how you're helping these leaders do what they're doing.
Well, the first thing is pretty exceptional people. One mindset of a founder in particular, but any good leader, is that you stay a student. So always learning and always wanting to improve yourself. My father said to me when I was 13, no good music has been written since 1942, but he did admit that the Beatles could carry a tune. And I remember thinking, if that's what getting old is, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to do it. But it's so fascinating because to stay a student, to always be improving yourself and learning about something seems to be a key component. So to be able to key in on that, and the discipline of motivating and inspiring people to move in a direction takes discipline. I mean, it takes discipline. You can't just expect that you're going to get it. It's something that you're always working at. So first, finding that part of a leader that does want to be a student, and then to acknowledge that, understanding where the audience is coming from, to always keep your head where you're listening, which is the hardest thing to teach. And then to make the content so it connects to them, so then they can do exactly what it is that they're supposed to do as a group, collectively, and in an intelligent way to move forward. And it's every day is a challenge. So to get to know yourself, to get to know the team, to get to know your behavior, and to be a student of that is a beautiful gift you can give yourself.
It's true. And part of what has inspired me at Microsoft, Satya read, he got deep into mindset and Carol Dweck's work, and talks about sort of being the learn-it-all versus the know-it-all. And you're right. It's actually harder many days to be the learn-it-all than the know-it-all, because you have to keep yourself in that space of not being, old and saying that everything has already been done, but to listen and learn in the same sort of beginner's mind that you had maybe when you were younger.
Well, there's interesting balance too, like between classics. So Aristotle, my first boyfriend, but then data science and neuroscience and all the things that are happening now, studying how we operate. And you want to keep hip with that because it's new. And then there are some things that just, like being good to yourself and being good to each other, ethic, some things don't change. So it is an interesting balance. And as a leader, you know that because you're a leader, because you do walk in front of people and don't turn around and they follow. And you have to constantly listen to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you've trained me, like, even in the moments when I'm getting ready for a speech that I am nervous about, that the audience is there for you, and they're there to hear you. So you have to really, like, there are times when you're receiving information from people, and then there's times when you have to really show up and connect with the audience and not just do what sort of you want to say, but what they want to hear. Tell us, you've worked with some of the greats sort of in terms of engineering and certainly the technology industry. Can you give us some examples without sharing names of the interesting work, whatever you feel comfortable sharing?
Well, I mean, without the names, I mean, the biggest thing is the learning how truly to listen, that you connect with the audience, because especially if you're gifted, if you're an artist engineer, so there's something that you're compelled to do, to also be able to listen to other people and to create that art. And there are some leaders that, like, if they're in a setting, the way they can make every single person on their team heard, respected, and still make a decision and when you walk out of that room, you choose to commit to that decision no matter what, right? But you are heard. So that kind of thing, a transfer from going that you're building this and because engineers do know that they're the only intelligent people on the planet.
Right.
I'm kind of kidding. But the acknowledgement of that balance between the two, people do, or how you, the newest person, to always keep your finger on the pulse of the newest person, the youngest person that just came in, or the oldest person that just came in, that you connect with them to constantly keep yourself fresh with information. That seems to be the thing that I admire most. And the discipline. I mean, some of the old guys like John Chambers is one of the best communicators on the planet. And I got to work with him a little bit in the early days. He said respect of the audience and the people, your constituency, is the most important thing. And he would work and plan and prep with respect. I mean, he's had a lot of other things to do too, but I learned from him how much a leader respects the art of your constituency and motivating and inspiring them.
Yeah, I mean, you're really making me think, because we sort of think that people are born good public speakers, and we know that you can get better. But to your point, even the greatest of the communicators, like John Chambers, they see it as part of the job to get better and to consistently learn. And it's not something like you just become that way. Mm-hmm. It's a constant work in progress.
Well, I always use my arms as an example for an old girl. I don't have bad arms, but it's not because of genes. I do push-ups every day, right? The art of communicating, motivating your most important constituency, which are the people that work with you to build this. Yes, you should respect it. What you said about being nervous too. People are nervous. Even the best people at it always get nervous beforehand. And the reason is they care.
Right. That's very freeing in a way, to know, like, it's just part of actually being compassionate and caring about your audience. Are those jitters?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the discipline, and Chambers did teach me this. He said you always take, I've learned from a lot of people, but this one always stuck in my head. You always, when you walk there or the light goes on or the camera goes on, it is all about them. That if, like, he wasn't big into meditation or all that kind of stuff, except that being present when you are communicating with your constituency takes all of the concentration. And I'll never forget that, because it's true. And
for me, and this happened actually when I was working with you and I was at Salesforce, I think you said, like, just before you go on, have fun. And for me, that was like that actually. So now every time I go and give a big speech, I'm like, okay, they're here. Have fun with them, and like interact with them, because I think that also, depending on that becomes part of the experience of the audience.
Well, when you think about it, do you think the audience is sitting there, like when you're in the audience, are you going, "Oh, I hope the speaker sucks. They're horrible"? No, you're hoping. But for some reason, we get up there. Number one fear of public speaking over flying and death, supposedly.
Wow.
People are terrified. And the assumption that the audience is just this terrible thing is very funny. It's not.
I remember, and then I'll, get back to the real questions, but I remember going and hearing a speech, and younger woman got up in front of I think there were probably 30,000 people, huge audience. And she worked for a big technology company, and she said, she got out there and she said, "I'm really nervous. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. And I just want to say that before I get going." And she started to speak for a few minutes. You could tell she was really nervous. Then her slides, like, everything disappeared in the way that, everything's fall apart. And the whole audience just got up and started clapping, and then it became the most fun. I mean, I remember what she said years ago, because it was like, she just sort of like, everyone, to your point, people don't want someone to go up there and feel like they wanted to go throw up in the bathroom.
That's right. That's right.
So do you have any, I'm sure you have many, many stories you could tell, but any good ones that you could share without a lawsuit in terms of public speakers? Oh, look, she's thinking.
So like name names.
No, just funny stories of people public speaking, what you've learned or seen, or maybe standout communicators that you've talked about. John Chambers.
Well, the other one, so Marissa is good, and Eric Schmidt probably was the toughest one. Well, I have two examples.
Okay.
Well, your Judson is a very good communicator, and he works very hard at it. Satya, who I've never met, but the transform and perform, that whole message that became pervasive to a company as big as a country, being able to balance and start to become innovative in a way that sometimes, with legacy holds you back a little bit. So content-wise, and then Eric Schmidt, I think, is going to go down as one of the best communicators on the planet. It was hard for him because he was an excellent CTO and at Sun Microsystems, and he went to Novell and then to Google, and imagine the people that he worked with. And communication was not the top of his game, and he became such a student of it that not only his message, but more importantly, the audience. And you could see him in front of a very hostile team, throwing really hostile questions at him, and how he was able to listen to the issue. He was able to summarize what they said with such class and elegance without going to the emotion, and then answer it to where not only the person was happy, but the whole audience was happy, and no BS. And also the respect in a meeting of very smart people that state what you need, state what you want, state your opinion, and then I will make a decision, and you will choose to commit. And that's what it takes to be on the team. So, and then Marissa, product. See, I don't think I can name names. I'll get killed if I do.
Don't name names. I think it's like the reason, what's I think more important for all of us is to hear from you. What makes people, good speakers, and sort of what you're sharing about Eric Schmidt sounds like he was really good at listening and kind of interacting with the audience.
Here's the story. One of the most famous CEOs in the technology in the early days couldn't get money, was CTO and could not get money. Other people could get money. Certainly he was the smartest. And what he realized is the way he communicated with his CEO was way too many details. I mean, he explained the whole thing. So he realized that if he offered the thesis or the key points, so he was able to go from inductive to deductive or deductive to inductive. He was able to switch the way he communicated. He was able to gain traction. And what he realized by that experience is understanding the audience and really thinking about them when he was presenting or when he wanted to move people to action. And it enabled him to listen to people in a way that he never has before. So no matter how controversial, no matter how hot anything would get, he always was able to let people know and feel that they were understood and heard. And then whether he went with their opinion or not, they felt good about where they were going. So that art truly, it's almost like he was a relative of Aristotle, was really cool. That's one really good example. Another one, a woman who always talked about how there is no balance. The balance is in your life, not every day, and how to communicate where it's most needed. She's actually the one who taught me that you have life balance. You don't have a balance between different things, and how you communicate that to people so they're always 100% feeling and knowing based on their behavior that they're productive. They have to be productive in their lives. She also taught not to take away boundaries because you spend so much time trying to put them up that if you keep them down and only prioritize what's the most important at the time, you will be able to deal with whether it's a work emergency, a home emergency, a parent emergency. You're always there for the most important thing.
And so, and I've also, I know you've spoken about Pete Buttigieg as someone that you think is a really strong, speaker connecting with audiences. Will you tell us a little bit about why Pete?
Well, if you could go and watch his acceptance speech that he was out of the race, his content was so clear and compelling. You knew, he was sad, but he wasn't mad. He was going to come back. It was so to the point. Physically, his physical skills, he looked into the camera because he knows that looking into the camera is looking at people. He looked at the people in the audience. He was short, he was to the point and authentic. The one thing about communication is you have to be yourself. It's not that you learn skills to be somebody else. It's yourself squared. If you watch him, you won't be able to stop watching him. And that's something. And it was an acceptance or, I'm sorry, I lost speech. So it wasn't like he was inventing anything, but he was so compelling that he's a great example to look at, to think, that's interesting.
I love that you just said it's yourself squared. And because I think so many people do think of communication as learning a new set of skills versus like kind of almost doubling down on the things that are deep in you that you want to share with an audience. And so it's like almost a freeing paradigm. What would you recommend though, or like TED Talks or anything out there if people are looking at how to become better communicators themselves? Who would you go watch?
Ooh, well, Michelle Obama, because I was thinking about who do what you say and say what you do. People who are credible and believable and motivating, watch those people. And she's one. She seems to back up everything she says in a really interesting way that is beautiful. And I would watch your own people. It's okay. Go and see famous people, but what meeting do you like to go to? Like, even in this world, what meeting is something that you say, oh, I've got to go to that one? And watch each other. What does the person do? Do they pay attention to you? Do they ask for your input? Are they slouched down, laying on their couch so you can only see part of them? Do they actually seem like they care about you? Do you leave the meeting, because content is queen? Do you leave the meeting talking to whoever you're at home with or somebody else about what happened, and that you can, because you remember what they said and what you're supposed to do? The content sticks, because great communication is one day at a time with people in our work community. So become a student of it for yourself, but start by watching people that you find, that was interesting. And then you'll start to notice things. The content is the most important thing, that it's clear. And when you leave, you can give the 3 major bullet points that they were trying to get across. Doesn't have to be all the detail, but what it was about, why it's important. And then the physical skills are that they seem like they're looking at you. They seem like they're interested in what they're talking about, and that more is volume and sitting up straight. If you're comfortable, you shouldn't be leading the meeting, right? Because you're taking people's time, which is all of our most valuable commodity.
Absolutely. It's funny, even just listening to you unpack that, our principles underneath our mission statement are to generate clarity, create energy, and deliver results. And I think about those meetings in terms of watching other people. When I come out and I feel energized and I also feel clear, like to your point, those are things I should continue to watch for, because those feel like very successful communication events. And I guess I don't always need to go off and watch a TED Talk to learn how to do it better. And
I think TED Talks are great.
Yeah. Of course.
We have superstars in the community. I do have a couple of books that you might be interested in. If you want to know more about the quantum mechanics and how it applies to every day instead of only, kind of the scientist-y thing, it's called Order of Time. by Carlo Rovelli, R-O-V like Victor, E-L-L-I. It's a fabulous book. And the other one is becoming quite popular because communication is so important to leadership right now because there's such a crisis in leadership. And especially in this industry, as it's another inflection point. Don't you think there's another inflection point of creativity? And thank goodness for technology and this last year keeping us connected. You know,
I know.
Beautiful. But anyway, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. So this goes back classic Stoicism, and not being stoic necessarily, but the ethic and happiness, philosophy and reality. There's some really cool things that people are connecting with, how to lead, and the key part of it is the communication part that you have with your people. Those are two books that are really good.
Thank you for those. We'll tag them in the post so that people can make sure and check them out. Now, you've said it. I mean, you have such an interesting balance of, you sort of take with, whether it's Marcus Aurelius or Aristotle, sort of some of the old, but you're always evolving. I mean, I know you've helped me figure out, how to look at the camera, how to be waist up, all these things. So talk about how, and maybe even more so in the last year, how communications has evolved and how your coaching relationship in that has changed, how you do what you do every day.
Mm-hmm. So I'll probably get in trouble for this, but before COVID, I used to think you can't learn how to swim on the internet and that everybody that works at home is a loser. Okay, well, I was totally wrong. A loser everywhere.
We've all been wrong around a lot of things in the last year, so you're not in any trouble.
Okay.
I thought I had to get on a plane to close a deal and, for an hour and go meet somebody and have an expensive meal.
That's right. I mean, it's crazy. So, okay, so that's true. And then we had to go virtual. So what I think the inflection point there is, how do you make connection if you can't be 3D? And if there's a lesson here that this experience is giving us as we become a global village, which I think is the whole purpose of technology, is we're going back to being a global village. We are learning how to truly interact, develop a relationship, tell the truth, lead, get an opinion, help people with their behavior in this weird space. Which will go forward to something integrated because we will see each other again someday, right? So how do you do that and what's the difference? And it is different. When you look into the camera, that's when people think you're looking at them. And Aristotle said, and so does data science, that credibility is tied to the physical skill of eye contact. Huh. Aristotle and a data scientist, they agree that there's something about this. And school teachers were so funny because we'd give it away. I can show you this. Your people are going to hate me doing this. But we'd get the school teachers on and we thought we would be helping them with doing lesson plans. But actually we saw them with their students talking to Timmy and telling Timmy to go get his mother and come because she has something to say. So we'd have to get the teacher to get the laptop up, or the camera at least up, to its eye contact level, eye level. And so if you look at the camera, Timmy, now would you please go get your mother and tell her I need to talk to her, to make people realize that it's all about the audience. And even though I can look at you, you're smiling, but I come back when I talk to the camera. And that's the hardest thing to do. Okay, so that was number one in this room. Credibility, senior, junior, new, old. Credibility is still the most important thing. Okay, that was number one. Number two, the energy thing is just sound like you're interested in what you're talking about. You have to crank your volume up. And it's not because you want to be loud. It's because you pronounce your words better. And now we're so global. So every accent is an accent. You pronounce your words better if you're cranking it up a little bit, and you come across because you have more inflection. So it's not loud. It's more about pronunciation and inflection. And that's really hard. And then to prepare, and time is wonky. So everything should be shorter. Like I just talked for too long. Can't be longer than 60 to 90 seconds max before you break it up with something else.
Huh. Okay, so everyone out there, eye contact, I'm practicing it, a volume that's louder to create energy, and then talk for no more than 90 seconds?
Yes.
Ish?
Yes.
Wow.
And the way you get people to be involved, and this is not if you're talking to 500 people, right? But if you're talking to a normal team, to get people involved in the conversation, you can't call them out. Like if I were to say, communication is really important. Isn't that right, Shelley? Calling someone out in this world is far more anxiety pushing than in person. But what you can do is if you call their name first, give context, then the question. So if I said, Shelley, when you think about communicating, especially in the virtual world, and we're trying to keep morale up and high-performing people are having a problem with taking time off, what are you doing to help some of your high-performing team people? Okay? So you're not mad at me. I have said your name, I've given you context, and then I ask the question. You're going, I love her, I love her, I love her. Even from the shyest person is so much better. The thing is, you have to remember, name of the person, context, question.
I love that.
Difference in the world, yeah.
I love that, Maureen, for a bunch of reasons. Obviously, at the end of the day, as leaders, we want to make the people who have taken their time to be in meetings contribute and collaborate. But I also love it because one of the things I found this world has restricted is sort of the diversity of voices that we might hear from. And so I think, and you feel bad calling on people. But to your point, if you sort of let them know up front, hey, Maureen, we're really struggling with this issue. These are the things we're seeing. How would you start to think about it? Then you sort of give them, the moment to collect their thoughts and pay attention.
And it works 100% of the time. Of all that, we've been doing this for a whole year now. 100% of the time, they say something better than you could ever imagine. And the only thing you run into is sometimes you have to tell them to get themselves off mute.
Yeah,
so it's that. I mean, that's the way it is right now. But it really does, and people love it. And then if they can depend on you, they can go to a meeting with you that you might call on them, and they can't quite figure it out because they don't know it's an actual formula: name, context, question. But they don't mind. And
right,
yeah, it's really cool.
Name, context, question.
Correct.
Okay, now moving on to some of the no-nos. I'm sure you've also seen, people who are not good communicators and things that just people should not do. Mm-hmm. What are some of your top tips there?
So I don't think they're tips. I think they're skills. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Learned.
Yeah. So eye contact, and the eye contact is the hardest one because people, when you think you go up or you want to look at your notes, or even in the real room, people are going back and forth like this and they think scanning is looking at people. More important now on this, even than in the real room, people are so dehydrated for connection that to train yourself to think about the audience over yourself, so you'll look at the bloody camera, the impact you will have for a short time, immediate time, or a long time is just so much more for the audience. And especially if you're a leader and you have a team, that connection is key. Okay, so that's the most important thing to really work on. The other thing is that uncertainty is still pervasive. So when giving direction, and this is more the content, rely on why people have to do something, who is in charge, what they have to do, how they have to do it, and when. So it's kind of the journalist who, what, when, where, why, how type of thing. But the desire to know why, because to feel connected to something that is heliotropic is so important. And this is captains and queens to write out of diapers. To understand that why is very important. Then the who, clear, and then the what. Those are the three things. And it sounds so ridiculous and simplistic, but we get into more the detail versus the thesis of those three things that can so clearly snap people's heads to being able to follow you. Because no one listens to anyone anyway, but with all the distraction and everything that's going on, to capture people's attention to where they can remember something, tying your message at the top, answering those three questions, you will see a difference in productivity.
Okay, so the skills, not tips, are number one, look in the camera. Mm-hmm. And I will say for myself as a leader, in this environment, I really always appreciate people some people don't ever want to turn their camera on. And certainly there's reasons why, if you're not in a space where you can do that or whatever. But it seems like number one, make sure if you can take advantage of the video. And then number two is really around the thesis statement. I know you've always taught me around having that outline. The first is the why, and then what, when, and how.
Yeah. First, what? No. Why?
Why? Okay.
What is it? Then what is it that you're talking about? Why are we doing this? And what is it that we're doing? The why, for some reason, I'm putting at the top because everyone keeps asking. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why we're doing this.
Simon Sinek, ask why.
That's right. Okay. So why, and then what? Who? Ownership. Clear ownership is, if there is a name next to it, it's yours. Or it's yours, or it's yours. It doesn't mean that you don't have all these other people, but clarity on the ownership. Missing water cooler talk. Missing water cooler talk where we clear up, clean up, do so much more than we thought we did. There's this neuroscience thing that's coming out, that just came out, that I'll get to you, that's really interesting, about how things are not hierarchical. And it's missing the water cooler talk where we clean up the mess and we communicate most of the things that we need to have done, is missing right now. So that's why the clarity of why we're doing it, what we're doing it, who, the how, and the when. So when is it due?
So important. That's great. I mean, and we'll love to share that neuroscience, because I think you're right. I sort of thought we missed the water cooler just for the human interaction, but you're right. It is also where the real cleanup gets done in terms of what really happened in that meeting, and okay, I got this and all that. I mean, that how's that happening anymore?
It's not, which is why it will be a hybrid, because you do need that. You do need that. Not everything can be like this. And we're getting better at picking up the phone again. But even that's hard. Because if you're in the bathroom washing your hands with somebody, you can say, oh, by the way, I think we should take out bullet 3, which is going to change the whole budget. What do you think? I agree. Okay. And it changes everything. It makes everything okay. I mean, that happens, right?
Completely. Okay, Maureen, this has been incredible. Tell us, just sort of any closing thoughts for the audience.
Well, the art of leadership is service leader is truly to think about them. And there's imposter syndrome deal with all the time with some folks. And there's arrogance and insecurity, or there's confidence and humility. And the confidence and humility, the key there is the humility, that you stay a student, you listen to the other people, you say you're sorry when you screw up, and you don't waste time worrying about what other people think. You spend all of that time with the things that you know to make the mission, the why, the people, and in the end, make the world a better place. And you're part of it. May as well. It certainly makes life more interesting.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this with all of us today, with me today, and for everybody who's listening. I learn something new every single time we talk. Grateful the world has someone like you and SNP to really help us communicate all the things that are trapped in here and here and here that we want to get out to the world. So huge thank you to you for your friendship, for your leadership, for your mentorship. And I hope you'll come back again for another edition of Taking Stock Live. A huge thank you to you.
I would love to. And by the way, the student is the teacher and the teacher is the student. And this is quid pro quo. I learned an awful lot from you. You are one of the truly great leaders. So thank you for letting me participate with you in what you do.
Always. And I see the birthday thing in your background of you. So I want to know if I've also missed a big birthday of yours. But before we do that, I just want to thank everyone who tuned in with us today for this edition of Taking Stock Live. As always, we look at the comments. We love to hear your feedback. As you just heard, we are in service to all of you who have taken your time to listen. So please share what you want to hear more of, maybe less of. And again, just a huge thank you for your time.